watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome to On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. We are here. We are live, and we got a big week set for the Braves coming up. They got the Marlins, and then they got the Phillies, so a lot of National League East standoffs to be had. And the Braves are looking, it's kind of up and down. A lot of people are mad. A lot of people are feeling a little bit better about the team. It's kind of hard to say right now exactly how I'm feeling. I think we're, in a very similar state as to where we were last year, in the sense of, halfway through the season, nobody thought we were going to be anything in the playoffs. And I think this team still has all the potential in the world to, to flip on a dime and get hot. And I'll tell you why. There's been a lot of cold spells for the Braves. We've had times where it seems no one's hitting. It seems, maybe two or three guys are hitting, but there's never been a time really this year, at least consistently, where everyone was locked in. At least it hasn't felt that way as of right now. And hopefully that will change. It's definitely a concerning thought, that nothing like that has happened. But I think, at some point you got to flip it around. And I really think that time is coming. And I'll tell you again why. If you look at the back of each of these guys' baseball cards, right, none of them are hitting, below 200 on any given year in their career. So to me, it feels like at some point they got to get hot. And I know that sounds real simple, but I'll also tell you that I've seen some development, lately. They just got done facing a really good Brewers team. Of course, in Game 1, they were pretty well shut down. Game 2, they were able to pull out a victory. In Game 3, I thought they hit pretty well. To be honest with you, I thought they should have won that game, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree there. But, sometimes it just doesn't go that way in the game of baseball. That being said, you're probably looking at me going, okay, what now? All right, here's what's next. You got the Marlins, and this will be the first time the Braves face the Marlins, or at least Acuna faced the Marlins since he left the game with an injury last year. So that's obviously a very big deal for him. That first game's going to kick off tomorrow at 6:40, basically 7 o'clock Eastern time. Should be a pretty good game, you would think. There's always some fireworks between, the Braves and Don Mattingly for some reason, but it should be a fun watch. I would look to see Acuna probably stay on DH, at least for the Marlins series. The team, the broadcast team talked about this the other day. Brian Jordan basically said kind of what I was thinking. You don't want to put Acuna right back into the same exact spot where he got hurt last year. You don't want to put him there necessarily. Acuna plays with one speed, and he doesn't play in any other form. So, to me, I don't think you want to risk injury. I kind of am okay with that for a while. I think him playing DH for a while is okay. I'm all right with him stealing bases, the straight line and all. But for right now, I would like to keep him at DH. I think that's the smart move for, frankly, the rest of the season to have him healthy, and really the rest of his career to have him healthy. And at some point, the comfort level will be up and we can get him back where we need to be. But for right now, I am certainly under the opinion that, we need to be careful with Ronald Acuna, and hopefully the Braves are as well. And I'm sure they are. But yeah, so you got a series with the Marlins. You follow up with the Phillies. Now, I know a lot of you guys are looking at the standings right now, and you're not happy about it. The Braves are currently 8 games back. In the last 10, they've won 5, they've lost 5. Not been a very good year thus far. I think it can flip around. And 2 big series versus the Marlins and the Phillies. The Braves are in 4th place, the Marlins are in 3rd, the Phillies are in 2nd. So this is a really big chance for the Braves to make a run here and make a big impact and get, let's say 4 or 5 of those games back, from those 2 teams. And they got a long ways to go before they reach the Mets. But if they can, again, win a few against the Marlins and the Phillies and get up to 2nd place as opposed to 4th, that would be big, and it would be big if they can make a big jump on the Mets as well. The Mets have looked good all year. They also lost Scherzer today. They're already down to Grom right now, and they lost Scherzer for the next, I believe, 4 to 6 weeks, maybe longer. So that's obviously a very big deal for the Mets, very big deal for the Braves as well, because I think it sets up a possibility for, again, just additional support in getting those games back. So hopefully that will be the case. That's where I think the Braves are right now. I do think they can make a run. I do think that, we're about to see something change. There's been these sparks. I've been talking about these sparks for a while now, and we've seen them. We've seen great moments, and I think they'll only continue. I think a question mark right now that you'd be valid in having is the bullpen, and of course the offense. We've talked a lot about the offense. The bullpen is actually a question mark, which none of us thought would happen because, beginning of the year, there was conversation about the Braves having the best bullpen in baseball. And, I agreed with it. I completely agreed that, the Braves certainly had, conversation for the best bullpen in baseball. But this is the graphic we were using, prior to the season. And you just look at that top line, 2 of those guys aren't there. You look at the bottom line, Tyler Matzik gone as well. So 3 out of these 7 guys, which were, the number, probably the top faces of the pen, and there's more, don't get me wrong, but these were the top faces of the pen. 3 of those guys are gone, which means a lot of innings are there to cover. A lot of people weren't happy with the Jesse Chavez move to the pen the other day. I don't know what choice Brian Snitker had. Truly, I don't, because I believe they had already burnt Kenley. And Will hasn't exactly been locked in. They had already used McHugh, Minter as well. I don't know what choice. These guys are probably operating on short rest. A lot of that's due to injury. Now, do I think this is going to have long-lasting effects? No, because again, you're losing 3 of those. Luke Jackson's out for the year. We know that he's not coming back this season. Kirby Yates should be around August, the same time Mike Soroka comes, which means, by the way, guy that's not on that graphic that has, came out of nowhere seemingly this year is Spencer Strider. So keep that in mind. But, when Soroka comes back, I think you see Strider, become a bullpen piece at that point. You may see, some of those guys in the minors become bullpen pieces. You could add that way. But also, I don't think Matzik's going to be gone for the year. I don't think that at all. I think he'll be back, after basically, I think he needs rest. I think he needs, more rest. I think that's all that needs to happen there. We all know how Will locked in last year in the postseason. Hopefully that'll be the case this year. Beyond that, though, I mean, the bullpen has good pieces. It's not that the bullpen pieces aren't good, because it's really not that at all. It's that they're operating on short rest. So, we talked about Jesse Chavez. Jesse Chavez is not a closer. Jesse Chavez is what Sean Newcomb was to the Braves last year. He is a mop-up guy. He is a guy that when you're up by 5, he's pitching. When you're down by 5, he's pitching. That is what Jesse Chavez's role is. I think should be, rather. I think we've improved in that regard, but when you have Jesse Chavez pitching in the 11th, basically you're up by 1 and you get a runner on second, it's obviously, it can go bad. Not to say that it will, but it very well can. And, it's unfortunate that happened, and, I get that. But again, I don't know what choice the Braves had at the time, and to be honest with you, I think they probably made the most educated guess on that. That being said, I don't think this continues. I think at some point they got to switch, and hopefully it's over this next 2 series with the Marlins and the Phillies. So that's what we got there. We're going to get to your comments now. I know we got a super chat from Jonathan Collins. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I will keep trying to keep it up for you best I can. So let's get into your guys' comments. I know you guys are going to want to talk about this. I know it's been very frustrating for a lot of you. And, I've gotten the comments. I've gotten the messages from a lot of you guys. Yeah, it's frustrating. No doubt about it. It's very frustrating. And, I got the text messages, when the Brewers walked it off the other night. Like I wasn't watching it. I'm very aware of what was going on. But yeah, it's definitely frustrating. It's definitely aggravating. I don't think this is everybody's going to go to it. I don't think this is a managerial problem. I don't think it's a front office problem. I think ultimately it's just got to come together. The pieces are there. I mean, you look at the lineup up and down, and I don't see a problem in it. I mean, like there's nothing in the lineup that makes me go, yeah, that guy needs to be taken off. It's hopefully he comes around. But Acuna coming back, right? He's coming back from injury. He's been what we expected, if not more, based on his injury. Matt Olson has been fairly decent this year. He's what we expected he'd be. Austin Riley seems to be coming out of his little slump, but he's been fairly consistent this year. Marcell Ozuna, that's where I think we could use some improvement, to tell you the truth. And then as soon as I say that, he hits a 2-run homer the other night. So there's holes in the lineup, but they're not holes that are valid to be replaced, if that makes any sense. You're not going to replace Ronald Acuna. You're not going to replace Matt Olson. You're not even going to replace Austin Riley. Probably not Marcell Ozuna in that regard either. I mean, these guys, for one, are good players, and for two, are getting paid to be there. I hate to say it, but that's part of it. You know, you're not going to replace those guys. You have to leave them there. You have to give them the chance to get out of it. You know, now in terms of guys that I think could improve, that we have some. Adam Duvall, who seems to finally, you know, he's taking the ball the other way. He seems to have come around to some degree, and I think you're going to see that more as the weeks go on here coming up. I think you're going to see more of the lineup, you know, taking what the pitcher gives them. And, you know, right now, I think that's what we're looking for. I think we need the lineup to come back and be what they were last year, be what they were the year prior to that. And we just have not seen it. So that's a problem. And, of course, I think the pen right now needs some help. I don't know if it's something that we're going to make a trade for because we have a lot coming back. Like I mentioned, Kirby Yates is coming back. I assume Tyler Matzik is coming back at some point. And not even that. You have a lot of young pitching that you don't want to give up in a trade. But beyond that, you have a lot of young pitching that can also contribute. Tucker Davidson, we saw him the other day, look great in the starting rotation. You know, down in the minors, there's more than that. You know, and this is a year, guys, and you're not going to like to hear this. I think the Braves are going to compete in the postseason in some form or fashion. And I'm going to stick by that for right now. If they continue on this trend, they won't. But I do think at some point they're going to break out and compete. That being said, this year has been a year for the young pitcher for the Braves. You know, early on, who was the guy that was leading the charge? Kyle Wright. Then who was it? Bryce Elder, who came out of nowhere and performed excellently out of the minors. Spencer Strider's been great. Tucker Davidson has been great from what we've seen this year. And this is something that I think, you know, we need to take note of. And look, I know we just won a World Series, and that's where our heads are at. We just want to win a World Series. You know, you got to win the division first and foremost. That being said, it's also, you have to develop your team. And if this year is nothing, if it's nothing but developmental, I think that's a success. Now, that being said, I do think they're going to compete. I have every reason to think they can compete. But again, you have a lot of youngsters. You have a lot of young guys in the pitching department, rather. And, you know, as much as we have some veterans in Charlie Morton, who seems to finally be back to where we expect Charlie Morton to be, as much as we like seeing that, Max Fried is another one that seems to be back to where we expect Max Fried to be. If they can get on par, if they can eat some more innings and limit how much the pen is going to have to be used, then I think you're going to start to see some success. And some, you know, you're going to see some low-scoring ball games from the opponent. Kyle Wright as well. You know, if they can just eat innings, that's going to be, you know, where the success comes in. I know a lot of people wanted Spencer Strider to get the call for the starting rotation, and I think that was at play. I really do. I definitely think that it was something that the Braves were considering. But, you know, I really think that it would have happened had he not had to pitch the game prior to Tucker Davidson. I think that probably would have happened. To be honest with you, I'm glad it didn't. I would like to delay that as much as we can, and I've gone into length about it. I've gone into length about it before, but I'll just show this one more time. This is basically just percentages of what Spencer Strider throws. This hasn't been updated since his last couple of appearances, but this is, in essence, who Spencer Strider is right now, right? Perfect out of the pen, been great out of the pen. I've liked everything I've seen out of Spencer Strider out of the pen. I just question a little bit how long he can last in a starter role, for one, pitching with the velocity he has. You know, I don't really question the stamina just because he hasn't really given me a reason to question the stamina, but I do question, you know, the looks he's going to get the third time through the rotation. I really do question that. You know, if you rely that heavy on the fastball, which is fine, you got to have some more secondary pitches. And, you know, when you use the changeup as minimally as he does, I really question it. I think if he can get, you know, some more, not to say experience, but some more, you know, reps with the changeup, you know, he could be successful. If he could add just one more pitch, I think he'd be phenomenal in the starting rotation. He could be phenomenal like this. I just don't think he's going to be phenomenal long term as a starter with this type of repertoire. I think he's got to add more to it. That being said, I really like the fact that we brought in Tucker Davidson, because Tucker is one of those guys that has multiple pitches. He's not so much of a two-pitch pitcher. And Bryce Elder the same way. I think that's why you've seen those guys get the starter call, is because they're not so reliant on the fastball. And what happens if Strider gets in a game and the fastball, is timed up with every batter? That's where the risk really is. And to be honest with you, I don't want to overexpose Spencer Strider, because if that's who he is, if that's who he will be for the end of time, is a two-pitch pitcher, more or less, I don't want to overexpose him. I don't want other teams to see him all the time and know what's coming, in essence, right? Because we've all seen what happens when a team knows what's coming. And if I can pull these percentages up, any team can as well. I'm no brainiac. It's just one trip to Baseball Savant. You can find all this. It's not something that, it's not something that's hard to figure out. This is something that I think a lot of teams know. Now, that being said, I think it says a lot about Spencer Strider's stuff, the fact that he's had the success he's had with the limited variety of pitching he has. But I do question it. I know a lot of you guys have wanted that to happen, but I like him in the bullpen role. If it's long relief, I'm cool with that, because he can give you a lot of innings of long relief. And to be honest with you, with young starting pitching like Tucker Davidson or Bryce Elder, even Kyle Wright if need be, maybe even Ian Anderson to some regard, if they go 4 innings. Isn't it somewhat comforting knowing that you got Spencer Strider that can get you to the 7th, right? That's comforting to me, especially with how limited the pen is. I don't think we have a shortage of starting pitchers right now. I think we have a shortage in the pen, and that's something that we need to take notice of. It's something that the Braves need to take notice of, and I think that's, again, why you haven't seen Strider move to the starting rotation. I've seen all the comments about it. I've seen a lot of the talk about it. I just think that the Braves have to prioritize the bullpen right now. We saw the bullpen not fall apart, but we saw the bullpen not hold it down the other night versus the Brewers, right? And I think that tells you just where the pen's at. We were expected coming into this year that, the Braves were going to have one of the best pens in baseball. Hasn't necessarily been the case over the past couple of weeks, maybe not even for the year. I think you got to prioritize the pen. Stop worrying so much about the starting rotation. I think it'll handle itself, especially when you got guys like Charlie Morton, Max Fried at the front end of that, and then you add in Ian Anderson in the middle. Now Kyle Wright and whoever you want to put on the back end right now, it's Tucker Davidson, and that can vary as the season goes on. But again, I think that's where we're at. I think that's what we need to prioritize, and I do think we're going to see a flip here. I really do. And to be honest with you, what I'm looking forward to, this series versus the Marlins and the Phillies, right? I think you could see a run here. I think you could get some games back, maybe even jump second place, because the Braves are 8 games back from first, which is the Mets, but they're only a game back from the Phillies. So a couple wins over the Marlins, a couple wins over the Phillies, they're in second place. So, I really think that could happen, but it's not what I'm most looking forward to. I'm most looking forward to about August. And a lot of people are going to wonder, are we going to trade? Are we going to make moves at the deadline? I don't know that that's the case. But what I do know is Soroka comes back. At least he's going to be back in some form or fashion. We don't know what version of Mike Soroka we're going to get, but he'll be back. Kirby Yates will be back, and hopefully Tyler Matzik will be as well. So I think we're going to get a lot back. I think we're going to, I think that's going to help tremendously. That's what I'm most looking forward to. And to be honest with you, I think Acuna will be at his best at that point. I think the offense will be at their best at that point. And I think the starters will be locked in as well. But the bullpen will get help. If nothing else, the bullpen will. So that's where I'm at. I am going to get to your comments now, I promise. We do have a super chat from Captain Spartan. He says, only important question, he says, what's your favorite beer? But for real, not worried. Like you said, just take care of Miami and Philly and jump them in the standings. Captain Spartan, I'll be honest with you. I was at dinner about a month ago, I guess. Yeah, about a month ago. And I was sitting with Leo Mazzone, who I'm interviewing tomorrow, by the way. I was sitting with him, and he asked me if I wanted a beer. I don't drink. But it was kind of funny when he asked me. I don't drink alcohol. I prefer a carbonated liquid, if I do say so myself, of the Mountain Dew variety. So that's where I'm at with that, but I do appreciate the question. Yeah, I'm not worried, like you said. I think take care of Miami and Philadelphia, go from there, jump them in the standings, get to second place, maybe make the Mets feel like they got, somebody looking at them from behind, climbing the ranks. And I think you put the pressure on them that way. And, slowly but steady wins the race. And, that being said, the Braves need to get on it. But yeah, I definitely think that at some point they're going to flip on a dime. I really do. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate it, guys. Do me a favor. I know I haven't said it yet, but do me a favor. Like the video down below. Helps me get it out to more Braves fans. Helps me grow the channel. And, of course, encourage more baseball conversation. We'll be here for a while tonight. Going to answer as many questions as I can. I promise you the best way for me to get to your question immediately is, of course, to super chat. I pretty much answer as quick as I can at that point. So, again, thanks for the super chats, guys. I really do appreciate it. Hope I answered your questions to the best of my ability. And, of course, I'll do the same for you if you super chat as well. So let's get into the comments now. William Fulgham tuning in, always. We appreciate it, man. Good to hear from you. He says, hope I'm doing well. How did it go with Leo? Well, it hasn't gone yet. We head up there tomorrow as soon as I get off work. We're heading up to Anderson, South Carolina. Should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. That will be on the channel as soon as I can get it. Guys, this is going to be an uncut, long interview. I don't care if it gets 100 views. We're going to post it. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a great interview with a lot of good content and a lot of good stories as well. We all know Leo can talk, and I think he's got some good stories to tell, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know he's looking forward to it as well. I talked to him today, and he's looking forward to it almost as much as I am. But, yeah, really looking forward to that, and it's going to be on the channel. If you want to ask Leo a question, all you got to do, drop a super chat tonight. I won't acknowledge it. Just put for Leo. I'll come back later, write them down, and I'll get your questions answered either in that interview or in a separate piece. So if you want those answered, just drop a super chat. Just whatever you want to donate, and I'll do my best to get him to answer all of those, and I'll get them to you as best I can. But yeah, a lot of good stories for Leo to tell. I'm sure a lot of good memories for the guys in the chat tonight, and I'm sure he has a lot of good memories to show and tell as well. So thanks for that, William. We'll let you know how it goes next week. Brandon Kirkwood says, glad to see the offense come around some. Yeah, I definitely think that they've hit a turning point to some degree. I definitely feel like, the Milwaukee series, game one, they got shut down, but they're facing, Burns, what is it, like Burns, Peralta, and, it was, and then Hader. They're going to get shut down. It was a 1-0 game. That's where the Brewers tend to shine, is in games like that. So, yeah, they faced... I'm sorry, not Corbin Burns. They faced Freddie Peralta, who pitched 7 innings of 2-hit baseball, and Devin Williams, who, the Brewers got pitching. It just is what it is. That's obviously going to shut down any offense, really. Not just the Braves. That's going to shut down pretty much anything. But, that's how it goes. But it did seem to me that, in Game 2, they seemed to come around a bit, and they seem to be coming around a bit anyway. In my opinion. They got 3 runs in Game 2. They won that game. Acuna got a couple walks. I believe he got a couple stolen bases as well. And that's where, Acuna can really do damage is on the base paths. But, look at that game as well. 3-0 game, but you used 4 relievers in that game. So that's where you kind of hurt your pin. And because think about it, Game 2, you had Tucker Davidson on the mound. He pitched 5 innings, but then you got to cover 4. And Colin McHugh, pitched almost 2 innings. AJ Minter came in for an inning. Will Smith came in, and then Kenley Jansen. So you're using a lot of pin there. And of course, that's not going to set up well for Game 3, especially if Game 3 was to go into extras, which it inevitably did. And in that game, we used Fried for 6, and then we had 5 relievers come in before the end of the game. So, yeah, it's hard to tell just how long a game like that's going to go as well. You don't want to leave in someone too long. You could have used Spencer Strider for another inning or so, maybe stretched it out a little bit further. Hate it for Jesse Chavez, really do. But at the same time, it's baseball. So, I do think the offense is coming around. I think the team's coming around. But it's going to be stressful until they really do. Hopefully they'll give us something to watch and enjoy here soon. Ryan Baker says, boy, that was a stressful game last night. Ryan, a lot of times because of my crazy schedule, I have to watch like the condensed game or something. And I didn't get to tune into that game until late. I tuned into that game about the bottom of the 10th inning. And the Braves scored, and we were doing great. And then, it was just unfortunate to say the least. Or I'm sorry, the top of the 11th is when I tuned in. So I literally tuned in, watched them score, and then I watched the walk-off. And I was still laying in bed. I just took the remote, flipped it off, and rolled back over and went to sleep. That was how that was my experience watching last night's game. But wasn't too stressful for me, I guess, but certainly was upsetting. Thanks for that comment, though. Spartan King says, "Hey, Tyler, how do you think this year's locker room is gelling? Lost a few locker room guys from last year." This is a question I think a lot of us are wondering. It's hard to know for sure. I mean, we're not in there. We're not in the locker room. It's really hard to know. I'll tell you this. What I can tell you is, I asked Will Smith this question when it came to Kenley Jansen, and, he cracked up laughing. So I'm sure that that's not really a problem. I don't think, Matt Olson is an issue. I don't think, the only thing that could potentially be an issue to me and again, I'm an outsider looking in just like you are, is maybe Ozuna, but even then it doesn't seem like it. And it's really just hard to know. Again, it's just really hard to know. That being said, they haven't gelled like the second half Braves last year did. And a lot of that can be contributed to the guys that were on that team that aren't here anymore. Jock Peterson, namely, Freddie Freeman as well. I mean, you can look at that. But then again, it's just teams change, teams evolve, teams shift. And I think that you're the team that you're looking at right now, right? And this is a data graphic, but I'm going to pull it up anyway. This timetable that I always show, the team that you're looking at is a team that you're going to have for at least 2 years, right? And a lot of these guys are going to have for much longer. So they're a team that, if they don't gel this year, they're going to gel in the next 5. They're going to figure it out. And there's too much talent on that team to not do so. But, when you have consistent injuries, when you have, guys that, are returning from injury and battling back, you might start off slow. I still think there's plenty of time this year to figure it out, to flip it over and start anew. That being said, they need to do it soon. They need to do it hopefully in this next 2 series and get the ball rolling and really get to where you're at and where they're gelling, like you said. We'll see if it happens. That's all we can really do. But, I don't know that we could really tell if they're gelling. I think that we kind of have to, look at it from afar and take what we can get and just, it's hard to say. Again, I think we made such a point, and I say we, I mean the Braves. The Braves made such a point last year to show just how much they were gelling, right? With all the trials that they had last year, Acuna going out, Soroka being re-injured. We know them all. We've gone through it a ton. But they made such a point to broadcast how much camaraderie there was that now when they don't, we're wondering if they're gelling, right? That's what I think has happened here. I think we might be stepping a bit too far. I definitely think the team is still the team. I think it's still, the guys that are coming to work every day and performing. But, obviously losing Freddie Freeman's a big name, but I don't think Matt Olson, again, is an issue. I really don't think Marcell Ozuna has been an issue. I think him apologizing to the team at the beginning of the year, getting it out of the way and moving on was the best thing that he could have done. It's hard to say. It really is. I don't think it's a gelling problem. I think it's just putting, frankly, stringing some hits together would be nice. We don't see very much of that. We see a lot of solo homers. That's because, very few guys get back-to-back hits. And, which means even fewer times do they get back-to-back hits followed by a homer. With as many solo shots as the Braves have had, that's not a reliable source of runs. It's just not. It's certainly not a reliable source of wins as we've seen this year. I think that's more your problem. I don't think it's an attitude thing. I definitely think it's more so of it's more so of just what translates to on the field. Again, I don't think that the team is having a problem gelling. I really just think it's what can we do to string hits together? Do we shift the lineup? Do we, what is there to do? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know who knows the answer to that. Last year they were forced to shift things around, and maybe with the loss of Tyler Matzik and the loss of others, that maybe Eddie Rosario, maybe that happens. I know that they apparently, the rumor, and I can't confirm this, but the rumor is that the Braves showed interest in Brett Gardner. Half of you guys liked it, half of you guys didn't. I really liked it. I like Brett Gardner as a player. He's older, but so is Pablo Sandoval. And maybe you don't give him a huge contract, but he can give you a lift. He's a left-handed bat, which we don't have a very many of. I think that would have been valuable, at least for the time being. But again, this could very well be a developmental year. The last time somebody went back-to-back in the World Series, and at least from what in the National League, was 75-76 Cincinnati Reds. The last time I think they went back-to-back at all was in the 90s with the Yankees. So, I mean, they could still very well be that. But if they are not, their run is not over this year. Do you get what I'm saying? There's plenty of time with this team left. I don't know how many times I got to pull up that timetable and show you. And think about it, guys. They were never a dominant force last year. Like, for 90% of the year, they were just on the edge of maybe getting into the postseason, maybe making a run. They were never the Dodgers, where they won 108 games, or even the Giants in that division, who just won a ton of games because the rest of the division was terrible. No, the National League East is the most underrated division in baseball, and I'll stand by that. Think about it. The Nationals, I know they're terrible right now, but they won the World Series in 2019. We won the series in 2021. The Dodgers won 2020. We all know that. But the Mets have been good for the past 2 years. The Phillies spend a ton of money. They are a good team. And the Marlins are getting better every year. So this is not a surprise to me that we are competing still for the National League East. The National League East is not a given. I think because the Braves, have a history of winning, because they have the history of 14 straight, which Leo Mazzone talks about a lot, that is not an easy accomplishment. That is not something that is a given. It's hard to win the division. You're competing against 4 other teams who want to win the division just as bad as you do and are doing everything in their power to decrown you. And I think a lot of people overlook that. This is a challenge. This is not something that is going to be easy. This is not something that, we can see. And, even the Giants back in the day, back when, when they had their dynasty, it was still every other year. It was never back-to-back. It's a very hard thing to accomplish. And, I'm not making excuses for the Braves. I'm just telling you, don't hang your hat on just a World Series this year. Enjoy the games. Enjoy baseball. Enjoy the development of these young players. I mean, wouldn't you have liked to have known that, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, Greg Maddux was, looking back, was one of the best trios of a starting rotation there was? Wouldn't you have liked to have known that? Appreciate what you're given. Because this is what we are watching with this Braves team is special. And whether they win it this year or not, they have a very long road of success ahead. And I think that's what we have to take into consideration here. So I know I've kind of rambled on for a while, but I think I've answered a lot of the questions in the chat with just that. I don't think you need to be worried this year. There's plenty of time left, guys. I mean, I think we still have at least, 100 Okay, so we've played like 38 games. So you have 20 games left, I think. So yeah, there's plenty of time left. The Braves can come back. It's a lot of people have been making fun of it's early, because that's what we always say, but it is early, especially after what we saw last year. I mean, have some confidence in this team. If not this year, then have confidence that this team will bring you another championship, or at least another run at a championship. I really firmly believe that, and I'll stand by that. But thanks for that question. I believe that was from Spartan King. I have rambled on, guys. I apologize. David Thrash says, hey, Tyler, just cut to the chase and tell us what's wrong with the Braves. I feel like I just kind of rambled on about that. But in terms of what's wrong with the Braves, offense, bullpen, fix them. We've had trouble with the starting rotation, and it seems to me, like we mentioned gelling, it seems to me like when the starting rotation does well, the offense doesn't. When the offense does well, starting rotation doesn't. Very reminiscent of the first half Braves last year. very reminiscent. And again, I'm not saying that we're going to, make moves at the deadline and win a World Series. That's hard to say. What I will say is it's very reminiscent. Don't give up yet. Don't hang your hat just yet. And I don't think it's over with. I think we have a long way ahead of us before we can say that. Yasuki Knight says he's not worried about the Braves just yet. Neither am I. I think we have too much time in the season left. Ryan Baker says, what's wrong with the Braves? Snicker needs to have a chat with the team and replace some players. Well, that's the thing, Ryan. I kind of just mentioned it. The lineup, at least, and I'll be honest, starting rotation, you can flirt a little bit with that fifth spot, but beyond that, I don't know where you would remove a player. The bullpen, you'd have a lot of, you're going to have a lot of up and down with the pen just because of how many guys aren't there. But I don't know that that's necessarily anything that we can, you're not going to go get a major player to put in the pen right now. That's just not how the Braves are going to go about operating here. At least I don't think. Not when you have so much coming back and so much of the season left. Now at the trade deadline, if it's looking like you're losing all these players for good for the year, then you might make a move if you think that you're in, standing to make a run. It's all about getting to the postseason. Sorry. It's all about getting to the postseason. And if you get to the postseason, we know, you don't have to be the best team. You don't have to be, the team that, won 108 games. You can be the team that just barely made it in and now you're making a run and you're somehow beating everybody. You don't know how. So there's a lot of time left. There's, I know it's frustrating to watch every day, but you can't take one day. You can't take one game. You can't even take 1 week and look at a season that way. You might be able to look back at a season at the end of the year and say, that's when we flipped. That's when we turned. Everybody last year looks to the trade deadline because that is when the Braves shifted. That's when they turned. That's when they became the team that they were. But at the same time, you can't take one given game and say, season's over, right? Because then you become one of these goofballs on the internet that gets mad at every game. That's not how you want to think about it. You just want to take what happens, say, okay, what's next? You look ahead, and, it would be easy for me to get on here and rant about how we gave up a walk-off homer last night. That's not really my approach, never has been. I really think that the best way to approach it is, again, seeing what's next, take a reasonable expectation or take a reasonable assumption and analyze where you're at and go from there. The Braves are not out of this. They're nowhere near out of this. And the Mets might think they are, but I'm cool if the Mets do think they are, to tell you the truth, because they thought they were last year. It's too early. I don't think you need to replace any players, again, because I don't know who you'd replace in the lineup. When Rosario inevitably comes back, you might platoon him and Demerit in some way. Because I don't think any of us thought that Travis Demerit would be what he's been, at least for this long. I think that's kind of came to a surprise for a lot of us. A pleasant surprise, but a surprise nonetheless. That being said, I think, again, I don't know who you'd replace in that lineup. Maybe Duvall, but then again, you're talking about the RBI leader for the past couple of years. I don't know who. I think you have to count on that they're going to flip, that they're going to turn, they're going to be, all of a sudden just killing it, and that's what you got to hope for. I would like to see some more hits strung together and not rely so much on solo shots, though. Jorge, what's up, Tyler? I'm not worried, but it is frustrating. Having said that, the Braves strike out too much. Completely agreed. In some games, and sometimes it's unwatchable. Yeah, they got to put the ball in play, right? That's the start of offense, is putting the ball in play. And striking out is, unfortunately, it's the name of the game right now. And to be honest with you, the last time it was as bad, as 1968, the year of the pitcher, right? Home runs were down. They're up now, but the year of the pitcher in 1968, they lowered the mound. Now they're taking similar approaches, and I say MLB is taking similar approaches and banning the shift, and encouraging more of a hit the ball the other way, and that's great. I'm cool with, encouraging that. The problem is with the shift, you do kind of diminish that. You do sort of lose that. So I'm okay with it. Then again, I think offense needs another look, and they're not getting it right now. So They strike out too much, but to be honest with you, I don't know how big of a factor that is. As much as I agree with you, I don't know how big of a factor it is because across MLB, seems to me every team strikes out too much. It has been the Achilles heel for the Braves this year. It has seemed to kill the offense. It has seemed to minimize how much the homers are actually worth because, everybody's swinging for the fences. So that's why you have so many solo shots. Nobody's getting on base. The one guy that seems to play small ball is the guy that just came back, and that's Ronald Acuna, who any other year is the guy that's slugging 40, 50 homers. So and he's the guy stealing bases. He's the guy that's forcing action. That's the type of play that I prefer. I wish more guys on the team did that, and set it up for guys like Olson and Ozuna to hit the bomb, or even Riley to hit the bomb. I mean, when you have so many sluggers like the Braves do, naturally there's going to be a lot of homers, and there's probably going to be a lot of strikeouts, especially with a guy like Duvall, who's a 200 hitter. Ozuna, who's got a big loopy swing right now. When you have guys like that, it's going to happen. But I completely agree. My family and I talk about this all the time. Way too many strikeouts, and until it changes, I think it's going to be, like you said, very unwatchable. Joe Mixon says the Braves and their fans need to get out of that mindset that they can just turn in. Oh, okay, I see. The Braves and their fans need to get out of the mindset that they can just turn it on because they did last season. That mindset did not work out for the Lakers or Nets in the NBA. Well, again, I'm going to show you this timetable because, you mentioned the Lakers and the Nets in the NBA. I get what you're saying here because it didn't work out. They did kind of get lackadaisical in their approach. It is a different sport, though. I mean, there's, basketball, you could probably be a lot more consistent in basketball, across the season, a little easier than in baseball because there's a lot more variables. There's a lot more variables in baseball than there are basketball. I mean, granted, shooting is day to day as well, but to me, baseball is a much, hitting especially is a much harder thing to do, just in the grand scheme of things. Now, what you're saying here, I get it. I get the mindset. I understand it. That being said, look at this timetable, because there's a lot of time with these players left, and again, I hate to say it, but this very well could be a learning year. It could be a developmental year. The year is not over. The year is not lost. It's got plenty of time left, but I agree with you. I don't think you can, and I'm guilty of that. They'll flip it around at some point, right? Because you take one look at the back of a baseball card, you're going to look at the stats, and you're going to realize, mathematically speaking, if Matt Olson hit 300 last year or 274 or whatever he hit, and he's hitting 205 right now, naturally you're expecting a hot streak to happen at some point, or more consistency to happen at some point, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I agree with you. Again, I'm guilty of it, but I do think that at some point, mathematically speaking, this lineup has to get out of this. This can't be the maximum performance that they have. They need to get out of that mindset as well. I'm speaking as an outsider. The team cannot have the mindset that I have, in the sense of, I assume that the Braves are going to get out of this. But again, I'm not the guy at the plate. I think that the Braves don't need to have that mindset, and I don't know that they do. I'm just speaking here, but I think it's I think it's correct to assume the worst in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I'm a much more patient fan than a lot of fans are. A lot of fans, the crowd, the Fire Snicker crowd. I'm not one of those guys, never will be, at least not until he gives me reason, and there hasn't been one yet because, I don't know even what that would change. But, I agree with you. I think they need to be more aggressive, but at the same time, you don't want to make them be more aggressive because, it could just encourage more strikeouts. Aggressive is it's a hot and cold word because, you want them to be aggressive. You want them to swing for the fences. You want them to, take the ball the other way. You want them to be aggressive at the plate and have that mindset, but at the same time, you don't want them to go up there and thinking, I'm going to swing. You want them thinking, I'm going to take what they give me. I'm going to hit the pitch where it is. It's just not exactly the right mindset you want to have at the plate. But I get you. I completely understand. You don't want them to play lackadaisical. You don't want them to do that, and I get that. But, again, not necessarily not necessarily the same as, I don't think anyone's being lazy. I think it's just, again, you're not stringing hits together, and I think that's the biggest problem. Jonathan Roberson, thanks for tuning in, buddy. He says, way too streaky, but there's plenty of time left. Agreed. I mean, again, I brought it up a few minutes ago. I think they played 38 games. If I'm doing the quick math in my head right, that means you got about 124 left. I'll take my chances in a comeback. I think they have, again, plenty of time to do so. But I also agree that they need to quit playing lackadaisically. They gotta do something. They gotta put it in full gear, whatever they need to do. But hopefully that'll happen. Jorge says, I'm kind of surprised they didn't put Thornburg in the 11th instead of Chavez. I agree with you, but at the same time, I don't know how much they trust Thornburg just yet, because you got to think, I mean, he's been fairly decent this year, but at the same time, Tyler Thornburg is coming off injury before this year. I mean, it may just be, I don't know what the situation was. I mean, it may just be that, they wanted to give Chavez the inning. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, right now, Thornburg's got a 4.32 ERA across 8 games. But maybe they trusted, honestly, Chavez in the situation more, because, again, you're giving a man on second. Very rarely do you see Chavez get shelled, and it just happened that, it was timed up and it was sent out of the park, but very rarely, I mean, to me, Chavez is a very soft contact pitcher, and you can almost sacrifice, the one run, but, you're really looking for no homers, and I think Chavez is usually pretty good about that. I don't know what the right answer is there. I don't know. I don't like to question, pitcher to pitcher, what are we doing? Now, had it been the 9th inning, I may agree with you, but, I don't know. Again, I don't know what the answer is. At the end of the day, the manager is just a viewer like we are. He puts the guys in a position to be most successful, and you hope that you hope that they are. But at the same time, it doesn't always happen that way. We can't question every single move. I don't necessarily disagree with you on Tyler Thornburg, to tell you the truth. But at the same time, I don't know it could have went the same exact way. He could have gave up 2 homers, or he could have gave up a single and a homer, right? It's hard to know. And I think you have to give Chavez a chance. I think you have to give Thornburg a chance as well. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Again, it's hard to know. It really is. Joe Mixon says, Duvall doesn't need to start every day. He plays better in a platoon. Bring up Drew Waters to add a lefty bat in the lineup. I don't know, just because at the same time, Duvall has been a guy that's been very successful at the plate in the past couple of seasons. And again, yeah, he's playing rough, and at some point you're going to have to make that decision. But at the same time, you don't want to say, okay, you're not the guy you used to be. We're going to bring up this guy. He's going to, you're going to platoon now. I don't know that that's necessarily what you want to go to just yet. I mean, again, maybe at some point. And who's to say that, they may not want to bring up Drew Waters just yet, to tell you the truth. I know everybody wants to see Drew Waters. Everybody wants Drew Waters to come up and perform and instantly be a star. It doesn't always go that way. Sometimes you get what you ask for. They get called up and they're not what you expected. Right now, Drew's looking good in the minors. I'll tell you that. But I kind of want him to get, a little bit more under his belt, because, he's not doing anything that makes me say, yep, he's ready to go right now. He does have a 314 average. That's great. But his on-base percentage is only 340. Not bad, but, I just don't know that he's necessarily ready to go just yet. And again, I don't have eyes on this guy every day. It's really hard to know. And look, whenever he gets called up, I'll trust in the Braves that they're making the right decision to bring him up. I'll trust it at its time. But until that day, I'm not going to say this guy needs to get called up. This is a much different situation than a few years ago when Riley got called up. If you remember, Austin Riley was he homered like, I want to say he had like 20 homers in 25 games or something like that. Like, it was like, if he doesn't get called up, what are we doing? They called him up, and Donaldson was still in the lineup. I mean, they found a place for him. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't think Drew Waters has quite done that, and I don't think you can take a guy who led in RBIs for a long time, was in the top 3 in homers for a couple of years ago. I don't think you take a guy like that and move him down to a platoon and bring up a guy that isn't necessarily, knocking down the door of the major leagues. That being said, it could happen. I'm just telling you, I don't know that I'm necessarily ready to go for that one. Wilmer says, the defense giving away multiple games lately is the most shocking thing to me. I agree with you. I don't know what's going on with that. I wish I could bring Ron Washington on and interrogate him, see what they're not doing. But, I don't know. It's definitely surprising because the Braves are credited, have been credited for the past few years as being some of, the best defenders in the league. I mean, think about last year, the best infield, in the game. There was that conversation, and you can say that was because of their bats, but I also thought it was because of their defense, and I think Ron Washington's a fundamental part of that. It's been kind of surprising. Ozzie and Dansby specifically, I mean, we've seen such good defense out of them over the years that to not see it is a little bit surprising, and I don't know what the answer to that is. Let me see. Joe Mixon says 4 games under 500 for a $170 million team with this talent is unacceptable. I completely agree with you. That being said, I want to look up something real quick. Give me just a second. Let's just look up MLB top payrolls 2022. We can see where everybody's at. So I get what you're saying. The Braves are at 170 payroll, but the Phillies are at 221. So if you're just going by dollar amount, I don't know that I can get behind that. And you're saying 4 games under 500. Let's see what they are at the end of the year, then we can really justify it. But yeah, the Phillies are playing 220, and they're in second place, and they're only 1 game above the Braves. So that's kind of a tough stretch for me. The Marlins are way below the Braves and the Phillies, and they're in third. It's not always about the payroll. The Braves won a World Series, and they were, 8th last year in payroll? So it's not always about that. I get what you're saying. It is unacceptable. I think it's more unacceptable with this talent, like you said. I think that's what's truly unacceptable, in my opinion. Jorge says, the time is good for a hot streak to catch the Mets. Scherzer is out for 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So to me, I think the timing is right. I think personally, again, you're playing division rivals. Acuna always heats up versus the Marlins. And I think that's when you're going to know, maybe not know, but I think that's when you're going to see the Braves really flip on a dime. If I had to guess, again, it could go the complete opposite direction. I don't know, but if I had to guess, this is a really good time for the Braves, in my opinion. Mainly because, again, Acuna has always been really good against the Marlins, and I know he's going to have his head on straight, wanting to play against them, and he always does. So we'll look to see what happens there. Max Scherzer being out. Is DeGrom still out? Is he still injured? I believe he is. If I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, so 2 days ago, he's still healing. I don't know when. There's no timetable for return. So the Mets are down DeGrom and Scherzer at least for the next 2 weeks for both of them, and 6 to 8 weeks for Scherzer. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? With Scherzer, I remember when the Mets got Scherzer, I questioned, you're paying this much for a guy that's 40? No offense to Scherzer, Hall of Famer, but I question how much he can really carry you through a season, and you're missing 6 to 8 weeks, and who knows what happens once you get to the playoffs. We saw that last year. It's really hard to know, but I think the Mets are really relying on those two guys in a lot of ways. Their offense has come around to some degree as well, but they're relying on those two guys. Make no mistake. And they still got a good pitching staff beyond those guys. But I really do think that Scherzer being out now alongside DeGrom allows the Braves just a little bit of a window to move along. Now, it gives the Phillies one too. It gives the Marlins one too. But I do think it gives the Braves a little bit of a window. We're not playing the Mets, but we are playing the Marlins and the Phillies. And if somehow or another the Mets were to lose some games and the Braves were to win some against the National League East rivals and the Marlins and the Phillies, that's when you see a big jump. And that's when you get right back up in there. That's why everybody's been worried about 6 games back, 8 games back. If it was if it was September, maybe if it was July even, I might be worried. But we're talking about May. I mean, we got such a long time, and mathematically the Braves have. 8 games. Think about this: if the Mets lose 4, the Braves win 4, we're right back to even. So it's just not as far back as you might think. I know it sounds bad, but I don't think we're as far back as a lot of us are feeling right now. Bill Gates says the Braves pitching has been fine, lost some games because of the pen, but the offense is the problem. No doubt about it. Completely agree. The Braves can't hit with runners on base. Yep. The Dodgers and the Mets are getting it done, and that's that. Yeah, I'm not worried about the Dodgers. And I say that, that's kind of ignorant to say, but I mean it. I'm not worried about the Dodgers because they're not in our division. I'm not worried about them until October. That's when I'm concerned. Now, if we play the Dodgers, yeah, I'm going to want the Braves to win those games. But I'm more worried about the Dodgers in October. And rightfully so, I think. The Mets are the biggest enemy at the moment. They're the guys that we got to beat to get back to the playoffs. And until we do that, we can't do anything with the Dodgers. We can't do anything with anybody else. I think we all know that. But the rest of your comment, yeah, so the offense is without a doubt the problem. I really think you got to string runners together, and then you got to get them in. And you're right. And the Braves' stats with runners in scoring position, I don't know them offhand, but they can't be good. I'm going to try to see what I can find on that. But, yeah, when you consistently get guys on base and don't bring them in, and then you have the most solo shots in baseball, let me see what I can see here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, let's see what we got. So, this is 2022. This is ML team runners left in scoring position per game. In 2022, Oakland, it looks like, leads the charge, maybe? Let me see. Sorry. No, Baltimore leads the charge, then it's Boston. The Mets are leaving a lot in scoring position, too. The Braves are actually 14th, so they're right in the middle of the pack, but it sure seems like they don't get their money's worth when they get runners on. I completely agree with you. Joe Mixon says, Snit also needs to change the lineup because we need to throw everything against the board and see what sticks. I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm not in panic mode. I'm not in I'm not in a mode to where I think that the Braves got to do something and got to do something now. I'm more of in this team has to shift. This team has to find something within themselves, not so much a major trade or a major, just a major thing like that, shift in the lineup. I think the lineup is what it is. You can move it around all you want, but, I don't know really what you would change. They've done some shifting, but, I definitely think they're better with Acuna and leadoff. I definitely think that's the case, and I think that's going to stick. But we'll see. Remember, guys, do me a favor. If you haven't already, like the video, get it out there, get it out to the crowd, and encourage as many viewers as we can. Trying to grow the channel, trying to do what I can. Also, I don't know how many of you guys tuned in late, but we will be doing another interview with my buddy Leo Mazzone. I will be heading up to South Carolina tomorrow as soon as I get off work. Going to do that at his house, actually. So it's going to be in the man cave, as I've been told. So it should be a lot of fun, and I'm sure it'll be all of what I hope for, and really looking forward to it. And, of course, there's some interviews on the channel, but this one's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more of a long cut. It's going to be, I would assume, around 45 minutes to an hour. We're not going to be cut off. We're going to let him talk as long as he wants to and as much as he'll let me talk to him. But should be fun. Should be a lot of stories being told. Make sure you tune into that. Make sure you're ready for that. And, if you guys are Braves fans, you got to know who Leo Mazzone is. One of the best pitching coaches of all time, without a doubt, in my opinion. Also, just want to let you guys know of another autograph opportunity. I try to let you guys know as much as possible on the autograph opportunities. There's one coming up with my buddy Bob Presley at BP Sports. It's a public signing. It's Matt Olson, Saturday, June 25th at the Galleria Parkway. The mall at Murph's, right? It's right next to Murph's in a little mall there. It's the only public signing appearance he'll have for the year. So make sure you come. The pricing I'll have on the community page, but real quick, baseballs and flats are $105, jerseys, bats, equipment $135, inscriptions are $39. Artwork is TBD. So if you want more information on that, I literally just got this text. I will get what I can to you. I'll put this on the channel community page. But again, Matt Olson, public signing by BP Sports and Murphs, Saturday, June 25th at the Galleria Parkway Mall. So make sure you're there. It's right next to the stadium. And obviously it's this is an autograph that if you're just now getting into autograph collecting, or if you're just now starting a Braves collection or something, this is one you're going to want to get, because Matt Olson's going to be around for a long time, and he's not going anywhere. Again, Saturday, June 25th, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So make sure you're there. I will do my best to be there. I assume I would be there, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to go with I'll be there, but we will see. So again, Matt Olson, one more time, June 25th, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Flats, baseballs, $105, jerseys, bats, equipment, $135, inscriptions, $39. So make sure you're there Saturday, June 25th to see Matt Olson, maybe get a picture with him, all that good stuff at BP Sports and Murphs in Atlanta, Georgia, Saturday, June 25th, 11:30 to 12:30. Had to make that plug. Appreciate you guys staying around, tuning in. Thanks for the super chats tonight, guys. Again, if you want to ask Leo Mazzone a question, just super chat me. I'll write it down and get it to him as quick as I can in that interview, and I'll make sure it gets answered in some capacity. So make sure you ask that and get it to me. I'm going to answer as many of these questions as I can. Probably going to wrap up about 10 o'clock. And at that point, I'm going to head out. But yeah, so let's jump right back into this. Jorge wants to ask a kind of a crazy question. Tyler, do you think that the Braves would ever make a nuclear trade for Juan Soto? I don't think they'd ever try. No, I mean, they'd have to give up a lot. I mean, to give up, I mean, I don't even know what you would have to give up to get Soto. I mean, you're talking about one of the best hitters in the league, really one of the best hitters in MLB, one of the brightest stars of the future. I mean, what would you have to get back to give up Ronald Acuna? That's what they're going to want, you know, and I don't see it happening. If it happened, I would be ecstatic, but I don't see it happening. Jamison Taylor says the Braves could have won that last game. I completely agree with you. We got a lot of guys tuning in late. Appreciate those guys. Appreciate you guys. Going to try to get as many of you guys as I can. No guarantees, but I will do, again, as many as I can. Luke says the series against the Marlins is going to be Acuna's redemption tour. Mark my words. Redemption tour, I think, I mean, it's not like he's been playing bad. I definitely think that you're going to see an uptick in his motivation, because, I mean, we all know about the history with the Marlins and Ronald Acuna. We all know about that, but I don't even think that comes into play. I mean, I just think, it's like Chipper with the Mets. You know, it's just who he plays well against. And I don't know what it is about it, but he does not like the Marlins. And like Jorge says, I don't think the Marlins are a bad team. They got great pitching in Pablo Lopez, and Sandy Alcantara is pretty good. He hasn't been as good as he was last year, but he is pretty good. And they got good pitching. And to be honest with you, they got a pretty good manager. And they've always been kind of a thorn in the side of whoever they're playing against. I remember we got matched up with them in 2020 in the postseason. I was like, ugh, I don't like that. I just really don't like that. We ended up winning that series, but they're a scrappy team is the best way I can put it. They get the job done a lot of times that, a lot of people overlook them. Joe Mixon says the Braves could have a 6-game winning streak if the bullpen and defense and the bat showed up. We have blown a ton of games in the last 2 weeks. I agree with you, but at the same time, I mean, a 6-game winning streak, it's hard to predict that. It's hard to say we could have had this, we could have had that. I don't know. But yeah, I think ultimately you have to. Again, the Braves. I believe it was you that said a minute ago, you can't just assume the Braves are going to flip on a dime. I mean, you can't just assume it, right? And that's kind of where we're at here. We're kind of just saying they could have done this, they could have done that. It doesn't always go that way, unfortunately. I wish it did, but yeah, I think the Braves could have had a 6-game winning streak, sure. But at the same time, they've had challenges in the pen. They've had challenges in the starting rotation. And they've certainly had their challenges offensively. So it's hard to say, but I appreciate that comment. Hitman says, I know everyone wants to win another ring, but we had a great year last year, and I think we will be in it for the next 4 to 5 years. I agree with you, and I kind of made this joke to my dad earlier. A lot of people are talking about Tyler Matzik falling off this year, and now he's injured and all that. Here's the thing. You have to appreciate, as frustrating as this year might have been so far, you have to appreciate what last year was. And with that, you have to appreciate what those guys gave you. Tyler Matzik gave us a lot. Tyler Matzik shouldn't have to ever buy another beer or dinner in the city of Atlanta again, if you want my opinion. I don't care if he ever throws another pitch in an Atlanta uniform. I have that opinion because of what he did last year. And the same goes for, any of those guys in the pen, really. And really anybody on that team, because that team was special. That team was different. It's something that you don't see a lot. They were underdogs, and when I say they were underdogs, we all know they were underdogs. And they beat the best team in baseball by all accounts across media, whether you agree with it or not, whether I agree with it or not. They beat the chosen ones in the Dodgers and the NLCS and went on to beat the Astros. So you have to appreciate what they were. That being said, they will be in it for the next few years. And that's the way the Braves have always built themselves. That's the model they have, and it's a model that works. One of my favorite quotes, and I say this all the time, one of my favorite quotes by Alex Anthopoulos was, how many times in the 90s did the Braves get to the big dance but come up short? How many times? A lot. It happened a lot, okay? 91, 92, did they get there in 93, 96, 99? A lot of those teams, 90, they might have gone even more than that. They went there a lot. They won one, okay? A lot of it is just getting there. Right? Once you get there, anything can happen, but as many opportunities as the Braves can get there is better for the team. It just is. And if they're competing every year, they have more chances to win. I think they can compete this year, but if they don't compete this year, they're in it for a long time. And good for me, because I run a channel specifically focused on the Braves. But yeah, they're in it for the long haul. Matthew says, Tyler, can we trade Will Smith for anything? Would anyone even be willing to eat his salary with his buyout next year? Are we paying him $14 million this year? Just terrible for a guy who can't keep runners off base. It's crazy. It's crazy how quickly, and I'm not picking on you, Matthew. It's crazy how quickly fans turn, right? And I'm not picking on Matthew here, but 6 months ago, how did we all feel about Will Smith? Right? How all did we feel about him? A year ago, we felt the same way Matthew's feeling right now, okay, about Will Smith, loathing every time he gets called out of the pen. You got to take it. You have to take what they give you. You have to it's hard to say. You can't be looking at a game and looking at one instance and saying, all right, I'm mad now, right? You have to take what he's done all year. You have to take what he's done over his career. And to be honest with you, I got to be honest with you, he could be having a lot of the same problems that Matzik is having, where he was overused last year. Will Smith was used a lot last year, just like Matzik was, an absolute ton last year, especially in the playoffs. And he locked up in the playoffs. You can't tell me that the Braves would have been as successful without Will Smith. And it's not like he's doing terrible. He's got 15 innings pitched all year, 12 strikeouts, 3.60 ERA, and he's got a save. Will Smith, to answer your question here, Matthew, no, I don't think you're going to trade him because we need to keep as many bullpen pieces as we can. But at the end of the day, also, Will Smith has taken a new role that he's not exactly used to. He's used to coming in the ninth. He's not used to just coming in the eighth like he is. I'm not saying there's a major effect there, but you have to appreciate the fact that that guy was willing to step out of the ninth inning and give it to Kenley, and move to the eighth. I think you have to appreciate that. He's a team guy. I'll be honest with you. I was very impressed when I met him, how much of a team guy he was, because, you saw it in the interview, but I had conversations with him aside from that, and, he loves the team, and look, it's not everything, I get it, but don't be so quick to want to trade a guy like that. Just don't. You're talking about a guy who was an elite reliever at one point, still a very good reliever, And, there's a lot of time in the year left. Scott Knight never should have taken Strider out. Yeah, but again, I mean, how much have we used Strider in the past few weeks? A ton. Matthew also wants to know, can we petition for Albies to stop switch hitting? He hits over 320 from the right side, but he is terrible from the left. He isn't Chipper Jones. He can't hit from the left. Let's stop it. Look, as much as I agree with you, because I do, I also, if that's how he's going to play, that's how he's going to play. A petition ain't going to stop him. The other thing is, you can't change a player. You can't just change it. As much as I agree with you, I think he'd win an MVP if he shifted and just hit right-handed. But at the same time, the Braves also don't have a lot of left-handed bats, and that's something you have to think about. And when you face a right-handed pitcher, throwing in a left-handed bat may help the rest of the lineup as well. So it's hard to know. I don't know. Can we sue Manny Pena for $3 million? No, you can't get your money back. Sorry. That $16 Coke you bought at the game the other day is paying Manny Pena's salary this year. Ryan Baker, here we go. By the way, did you hear Kelsey got hit by a line drive at the Rockies game? I did. I saw it. I hate it for her. I think it's the second time she's been hit by like a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. A lot of you guys know this. I am a Kelsey Wingert fan for a lot of reasons, namely because she was always really friendly to me, always. I saw her at the stadium. I told the story before, but I don't mind telling it again just because she's kind of in the news lately. Kelsey, when I first met Kelsey, it was right after Acuna hit the grand slam in 2018 against the Dodgers. I was there in the tip-top bleachers. I was at the highest point you could get in that park, but I was there. And anyway, obviously emotions are high. You're super happy about what just happened. Anyway, I leave. I go to the Battery. I'm standing outside the broadcast booth out in the Battery, and I'm just sort of watching the broadcast. There's like 150 fans surrounding this thing. I mean, it was crazy. It was a great time to be a Braves fan. That being said, Kelsey walks up. People are getting pictures with her. I go get a picture with her. And right before we take it, I wish I had this queued up, but I don't. My face is priceless in it. She looked at me. She goes, "Aren't you Tyler?" And this is before I did anything, really like this. I had maybe 10 subscribers. But I had interviewed Otis Nixon. Shared it everywhere, all that stuff. And it just took me by surprise. I was like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, I saw your Otis Nixon interview. Keep it up. You're doing really good things. So Kelsey has been, just super friendly to me ever since I first met her. And, of course, we wish her the best here. I hate that it happened. Glad that she got taken care of. And I'm sure she'll be right back on the sidelines, hopefully with some more protection out there. But, we're wishing her the best. And, of course, we're wishing her the best in her career with the Rockies. Happy she found somewhere to go after the Braves. Of course, she's with John Boy Media, too, I think. So she's really doing well for herself, and happy to say that. So, yeah, I saw it. Wish her the best. And, hope to see her at some point. Maybe I can get out to Coors Field for a game. But, big Kelsey Wingert fan here. I'm sure a lot of Braves country is, too. And, we, of course, are sending prayers and wish her the best for sure. Thanks for that comment. Appreciate it. Let me see. Jorge Gardner is a Yankee through and through. He got an offer from the Blue Jays and rejected it as well. Yeah, I don't think he turned down just the Braves. I agree with you. He's a Yankee through and through, loyal to a fault. And you know what? I respect that. I really do, because he's been with the Yankees his entire career. I don't think he wants to throw away that legacy. And you know what? That's his decision. It may be that he retires because of it. And, that'll be what it'll be. The Yankees also offered Chipper Jones a contract at one point. After his retirement, and he turned it down as well. So, I respect it. I wish him the best, and hopefully he gets back in a Yankee uniform because I still think he's a very good player. But I get his time is limited. All right, so let's see. I'm going to try to get as many of you guys as I can. If you ask multiple questions, you're going to have Super Chat. I'm going to have to skip you. Sorry. The Mets are the only team keeping the NL East from being the only division to have all teams win a World Series in the 21st century. True, very true. Think about this. If the Mets somehow won a World Series this year, right, if that happened, you'd have the Nationals the Braves, and the Mets all win a World Series in the span of 5 years. I don't know if there's another time in history where that happened, where 3 teams out of a division won over the span of 5 years. I don't know if that's happened. So that's, like, a lot of people don't talk about the NL East. The NL East is very competitive, has a lot of good players, a lot of good pitching, a ton of good pitching. Hence why your offense may be down. I don't know. But it is interesting. And the Mets, the Mets hadn't won since, 1986, I think? So it's been a minute. Maybe they'll do it this year. I hope not. I hope it's the 22nd century before they win one. Scott Knight says it's time to play small ball, at least until the league realizes the ball is dead. The ball is definitely dead. Don't disagree there. I mean, there's been some that have been hit, and I thought they were gone, and they weren't. That's happened a good bit, but it's definitely hurt some teams. It's definitely hurt. It's definitely hurt some. It's definitely hurt some of the offense for sure. But at the same time, I think they're really trying to encourage small ball, and I appreciate that on a national level. I appreciate that, but at the same time, it has, I think, hurt the Braves because there is a lot of home run power in that lineup. Yosuke Knight says that any time this team can go on a run, it will be very interesting to see if Mike Soroka comes back later this year. I completely agree, and we can keep saying that. Hopefully, it happens sooner rather than later. Anthony Hayes. Anthony, I think you're a new face. Thanks for tuning in. I hope I hope you're still here by the time I've answered this question. I really appreciate tuning in. I hope you'll subscribe. But yeah, so what is the best restaurant in the Battery to eat going to a game soon? First time in the Battery's second game. Okay, so if you go to the game, if you eat in the stadium, I tell this to everybody, there's a barbecue joint in left center field. It's a little small thing. I don't remember. I think it's Foxboro's Barbecue. It's good. That's what I eat when I go. In the Battery, there's the Yard House that I've had a few times. Wahlburgers is pretty good. I mean, that's kind of standard. I don't know any little hole in the wall. I'm sure somebody in the chat got you as well. But I would say Yard House is it's a little expensive, but it is good. But yeah, if you go in the game, Foxboro's Barbecue is where I will literally wait in line before I go. Like, I will not go eat at the Battery. I will wait until the gates open and go to Foxboro's. That's kind of how I handle it. So yeah, for sure. Richard Davis says, if you are a real Braves fan, you should know how they are. Don't jump off the wagon just yet. Things aren't going their way yet. It will change. I completely agree with you, and I'm going to show this timeline until the end of time. I mean, they have so much. That's the thing, right? A lot of fair-weathered fans, will tell you that the Braves aren't what they were last year and all this, and I get it. I mean, look, I get it. If you're a casual fan and the World Series champs aren't playing like World Series champs, I completely understand it. But when you have a team with this much talent for this long, I just don't understand, being fair-weathered. I don't get it. Have faith. Let me tell you something. I bought enough Braves merch to last me until Matt Olson is done with the Braves, and I plan to wear it until then as well, for sure. So I agree with you, Richard. I definitely think that's the case. Chad Davis says, remember, we had a short spring training. Guys, a lot of teams are starting off sluggish. I agree with you. The problem is the NL East has not started off sluggish. But I completely agree with you. Shortened spring training had an effect. I plan on talking to Leo Mazzone about that, specifically with pitchers. I mean, because Charlie Morton, Max Fried, those two guys, we saw a major decline there. And I don't know how much of that was Charlie Morton's injury from last year in the World Series, how much of that was the shortened spring training. I plan on having that conversation with him, so look for that. I think you'd like that conversation. But yeah, for sure. Joe Mixon says, I view the Braves from two windows, the short-term 2022 window and the long-term window until 2030. I'm not worried long-term, but short-term, yeah, it's frustrating. And I think that's the best way you can look at it. Like, I really do. I think what you just said is perfect because you can focus on this year. There is goals in this year, winning the National League East again, making a run in the postseason. There are goals this year, make no mistake. But at the same time, for me, the timeline doesn't end until 2030, like you said. That's when, if we haven't done anything by then, I'm like, okay, what the heck? What are we doing? But, maybe even 2025. But, they're not a dominant force in the regular season. They weren't last year until the second half. They're not going to be this year until the second half, I don't think. I mean, I think you're going to have some runs, you're going to have some competition, but they're not going to run away with this division. The Mets are too good to do that. Frankly, I think the National League East is too good to do that. But we'll see. Corey Carter says, I'm against banning the shift. Professionals should be able to beat it. I agree with you, but at the same time, with the way the game's going, I think I understand why baseball is doing it. I'm not saying that I like it, because I don't. I wish they'd leave the game alone in some capacity, but I do understand, the perspective of, okay, you don't like home run baseball and strikeout baseball. You don't like home run strikeout baseball, right? You want base hits, but they can't get base hits on the ground. Like, think about a guy like McCann, who could not hit a ground ball for a single to save his life anywhere. Something like that, right? Or Pujols or whatever. I think that would help it. I think it would be a little bit more entertaining. But at the same time, I completely agree with you. I do think professionals should be able to beat it. And we'll see. I think what kind of changed my mind on that is hearing Freddie Freeman talk about it, because Freddie, as divisive as he seems to be right now when I bring him up, as good as Freddie is at hitting the ball the other way, he even says how difficult it really is to hit the ball the other way. I mean, because it is. It's not an easy thing to do. But, we'll see. I think the shift is mainly to bring – I mean, go back and watch the clip of Josh Donaldson talking about, on MLB Network a few years ago, if your coach tells you to hit a ground ball, tell him no, or hit the top of the ball, tell him no, because ground balls are outs. He's right. In today's day and age, with as good as defenders are, he's right. And I think you could bring back the ground ball. I mean, you can't even hit a ball up the middle right now for a hit. I mean, and I don't know why more guys don't bunt. I'll never understand that. And I just don't understand it, especially guys that have speed. Get it down the third baseline and take off. I don't get it. But just do that until they, make them adjust to you. That being said, it's not happening, and teams aren't doing it. So, they got to take measures. That's what happened. Denny McLain, I did an interview with Denny McLain a few years ago. Last 30-game winner, one of the best pitchers of the 60s, he thinks they should raise the mound back up. And because he's a pitcher, he's that's who he is. And they took that measure to, encourage hitting at that point, to make the game more entertaining at that point. So it's not something that's unforeseen. I definitely think it takes away some strategy and takes away some of your chess pieces, but I understand it. I get it. At the same time, no, I don't like it either. I agree that professionals should be able to beat it. The problem is, Corey, they're not. They're not making that adjustment. They're not bunting. They're not playing small ball. They're not hitting it the other way. And if they do, the guy behind them isn't. So let's say Austin Riley beats the shift and hits it the other way, gets on base. Marcell Ozuna is going to pull, right? So you're not having a consistent across the board. You might have a guy here or there that does, but it's across the board. You have so many extreme pull hitters, and they're just not doing it. So I think ultimately they got to do something, and if that's what they're going to do, that's what they're going to do. It's not until the end of this year. I'll be honest with you, that's not even close to my biggest problem in baseball right now. My biggest problem in baseball right now is the runner on second base in extra innings. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I think it's cheap. I think it's stupid. And, it wouldn't have affected the game the other day if had it gone the same way, but I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I hate everything about it. And until that changes, I'm going to have problems with it. But, I get what you're saying. There's a lot of changes that are happening in baseball that I'm not a huge fan of. The crackdown on the sticky stuff I was okay with to some degree, because you have to give the hitter something, like you do. And the sticky stuff I was all right with. I wasn't cool with the punishment of pitchers and, that kind of thing. You can have your opinion on that the way you want, but, I think the way it was handled was a little wrong, but I do think the crackdown on it was right. Hey, we're not going to tolerate this. Now, the checking of the hands and all, especially the Bumgarner stuff the other day, ridiculous. But I definitely think they needed to do something about it because, the offense was down. Strikeout numbers were high, home run numbers were climbing, and, a home run's only cool every now and again, right? You take away the value of it when you hit 10 of them a game and you strike out, every other batter. It's not what baseball is meant to be. And, I missed where, guys would just try to get a double. When do we see that anymore? It's split the gap. You don't see a ton of that. You don't see ground ball hits. You don't see small ball. I mentioned Acuna stealing bases. He's one of the few guys that's actually doing that, and it's starting to come back. But, that's something that a lot of guys don't do. And, I think we need to see more of that, but we'll see. We'll see. Scott Knight says, we are seeing the same thing as we saw last year. Will Smith was especially bad during the regular season last year, not too soon to have a come-to-Jesus meeting. Yeah, especially in relieving, guys have up and down appearances all the time. Guys have good stints, they have bad stints. And, think about how quick you see a reliever fall sometimes. Like, the one that comes to mind of recent, times is like Shane Green. Shane Green was like one of the best closers in baseball, before the Braves got him. And he was good when the Braves did get him. And then the next year we got him in a trade, or we picked him up in free agency finally, and he was nothing like he was the year prior. And the same thing can happen in a positive way. Look at Tyler Matzik. The guy came out of like JUCO ball, and then I don't even know where he came from, but he came out of nowhere. And the dude, became what he was in a postseason. Became a postseason hero. So, guys can have ups and downs, especially in the bullpen. And that just is what it is. But, I definitely think that it's, again, not too late to have a come to Jesus meeting, like you said. But hopefully it happens sooner rather than later. And look, I won't lie to you. I'm a Will Smith fan, and part of that is because I met him and interviewed him, and he was, good to me, nice to me. He's easy to root for, much like Kyle Wright, much like a lot of those guys I've interviewed. They're just, when you do that, and they're easy to root for. So I'm a little bit more hesitant to say, yeah, trade him. I don't think that way. And to be honest with you, I don't think that way even if I didn't meet this guy. But because I did, I'm even more hesitant to say, yeah, get rid of him. He's nothing, because he's not. The dude locked in last year and won a World Series. He pitched the last pitch of the World Series. And he did not give up a run throughout the entire postseason. This is a guy who can lock in and be great, given the opportunity. And to be honest with you, if he's going to pick a time to lock in, I'd much rather be September, October than May, June. I think we can all agree there. So we'll see. Hopefully he'll lock in soon though, and shut up the haters. Joe Mixon says, every team had a short spring training. That is no excuse. I agree with you, but I think it's causing a lot of problems. That's what I'll say. And it's not so much for offense as much as it is pitching. And I think that's primarily over, but I definitely think there's some lasting effects. I think we really saw it with Charlie Morton. I think we really saw it with Max Fried. Luckily, they had some pitchers that we didn't see that. But, I definitely think it's causing problems on a league-wide level. Yeah, everybody's in the same boat, but it's still a problem. It's still there. It's still like, I worry that Tyler Matzik, might not have had all this shoulder inflammation if he had gotten some reps in spring training, right? And that's stretching it maybe, but you get what I'm saying. It's Scherzer's now out 6 to 8 weeks. DeGrom's out, and it's not like they're doing anything, they didn't step wrong and tear their Achilles. They're just hurt, and I can't help but think that, that could be a reason why, and it is a league-wide issue. I'm not so much concerned about performance as much as I am, are these guys going to get hurt? And we keep seeing guys go down, and it's just, we haven't really seen it in a major way for the Braves. We have, in some ways, especially with like Tyler Matzik recently and Luke Jackson. I can't help but wonder, Tommy John, did he try to overwork himself in spring training to get ready? I can't help but think that. And it's, again, who knows what the real answer is, really? Tyler Matzik could have been overworked last year. His velocity's been down all year. Maybe his velocity's been down because of a shortened spring training. I think that is having an effect. Sure, it's no excuse on a team level, but I think it is a valid reason why you're seeing some of these issues. I think that's the best way I can put that. Richard Davis says, the Braves have had some bad luck this year. It will get better as the year goes on. A lot of Braves are still young and should get better as the year goes on. Yeah, that's the thing. Especially, we talk a lot about the pitching here, especially with the pitching. A lot of guys are young. Max Fried is still young. I mean, he's I guess a veteran now, but he's still young. Kyle Wright, young. Ian Anderson, young. Tucker Davidson, young. Spencer Strider, young. I mean, and even, it's you're going to see development. And I think that's important, and a lot of you guys aren't going to want to hear that. I think last year was kind of a development year. Somehow he snuck a World Series win in. But we saw a lot of development in our young pitchers, and the development we've seen in Kyle Wright especially, I think that means something. I think that, will stand the test of time and mean something 3 years from now. When Kyle Wright's pitching Game 7 of the 2026 World Series, right? Whatever the case may be. I think that kind of development is something that, we overlook at times, and we don't need to overlook at times, but it's something that we're going to overlook, and it just is what it is. But, yeah, I definitely think we got a lot of time to make a change and figure this out. Let me see. Braves are going to arbitration and have even won some of their cases for less than $500,000. Not sure I like that. Corey, I'll be honest with you. I haven't heard much about this. To tell you the truth, I haven't really looked at all the arbitration. I don't know who specifically you're mentioning here. I'd have to really take a look at that case. And to be honest with you, I don't really know what at the end of the day, it's up to the arbiter. It's not really up to the Braves there. I'd like to see who you're talking about there. I'd have to see. Jake Hobby says, weird situation with Mariners. They sent starter out to start the inning. They tried to make pitching change, but umpire said starter had to come back out. Then starter gave up double and made change. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not watching the game, unfortunately. Joe Mixon, that's a good point, buddy. I'll take Snicker over what we had before. Just going to give you agreed, for sure. And here's the thing, right? And I'm kind of going to get on a soapbox right here, so take it for what you will. Here's my thing, right? With the Fire Snicker crowd, with that crowd specifically, I understand why you get mad. I understand what leads you to say Fire Snicker. I get it. I get it. You're frustrated with some decision he's made this particular day, right? The other day it was Chavez coming in the 11th when not Thornburg or whoever. Whatever. Here's my thing. Anytime somebody says Fire Snicker, right? Anytime that happens, I always say, okay, who do you want to bring in? Inevitably, they're going to say Ron Washington. Inevitably. It's Ron Washington's right there. What do you think that's going to change? That's what I don't understand. It's not just, who do you want? Okay, what is that going to change? Because if you don't think that Brian Snicker, Ron Washington, Eric Young, Kevin Seitzer, and whoever, if you don't think that they're all working as a unit alongside Alex Anthopoulos, if you don't think that communication is there, I mean, what makes, ultimately, yes, it's Brian Snicker's decision. It's his final decision. But if you don't think that they're not working in a tandem, I don't understand what you're looking for. And to be honest with you, I don't know any outside manager that I'm like, yeah, I'll take you over Snicker, when Snicker's won at least 2 managers of the year, won a World Series 6 months ago. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. Sometimes, sure, are there better managers? Probably. I don't know. But are you going to get one that's better to replace Brian Snicker? Think about it. This isn't college football. This isn't get rid of your coach and bring in somebody else every given season. It's just not that. It's baseball works different. And it also, and I mentioned college football, baseball is not a coach-heavy sport, at least in terms of the game, and at a professional level. It's just not. The manager puts a lineup together, puts it out there, sees what happens, makes some bullpen changes here and there, decides when a pitcher leaves and when they come in. I get all that. But very, very rare. They're not calling plays. They're picking the, defense or whatever. But, a lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it is raising up pitchers. There's a lot more in it than just how a game ends. And you know what? I got to tell you, like Joe Mixon says, I'll take Snicker over what we had last time. I really will. And, here's the thing, guys. Brian Snicker put together a team, right? Or helped put together a team that won a World Series last year that should not have. He managed the bullpen excellently throughout the postseason. He handled, he brought in a starter in Kyle Wright that performed fantastic, which a lot of us didn't think was going to happen. You can't just get mad over one regular season game and say fire Snicker. Those are the fans that turn me off. Those are the fans that aggravate me. And, it's just, I told you I'm going to get on a soapbox because this comes up every time of the year, and I laugh at it because it's that time of the year, right? It's just that time of the year where people are mad at Snit, and they'll be back in 2 weeks watching the same exact thing happen, and they'll be just as mad then. Just don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. That's the best advice I can give you if you're a Braves fan. All right, moving on. I'm done talking about it. All right, Richard Davis says some so-called Braves fans never want. Oh, here we go. They never wanted to hire Snit. They wanted to trade 6 players for DeGrom about 3 years ago, including Fried, Swanson, Riley. Where would we be now? Richard Davis, you've been a subscriber to On Deck for a very long time because I was never for any of those moves. Yeah, I don't get it. I've never been a trade everybody, throw it all at the wall because I understood what the Braves were doing when they started the rebuild. Right? It was never about let's win right now. And to be honest with you, I'm sort of back into that mindset. We got a big victory last year, but we also don't have the same team we had last year. And the team we had last year, let's be honest, were playing out of their minds. I mean, they were playing at a level that none of them, with the exception of maybe Soler, had played before at that level. Very few guys, and Jock Peterson also. But, very few guys had postseason experience. If they had postseason experience, it was very minimal, So it's just, at the end of the day, fans are going to be fans. Casual fans are going to be fans. Just don't be, so hot-tempered is the best way I can put it. I'm going to wrap it up here very soon. If you want to get a question answered, make sure you put in, super chat. Oh, we got a couple. Okay. I've missed these. I am so sorry, guys. I hope you guys haven't been waiting long. Let me make sure I don't have any other ones. Okay. Yeah. Let me get back into these. Sorry, I've been just talking and talking and talking. I got on my soapbox. Anthony Hayes says, been watching for a while. First time in the live chat. Batting averages are down this year across the league. Well, Anthony, I appreciate you joining the chat. Always feel free to join the chat. I try to be as friendly as I can through these. But yeah, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you subscribing. Appreciate you super chatting. That always says a lot. I really, really do appreciate that. Also, batting averages are down this year across all of Major League Baseball. I think that's, again, for a few reasons. Shortened spring training, fight me. I think that's the case. I also think the dead in baseballs aren't helping. I think, and it's, to be honest with you, it's really not the dead in baseballs. It's more so the constant change of the baseballs, right? Like, if you swing just as hard on 2 pitches and one goes out of the park and one lands 10 feet in front of the warning track, it's not consistent and it's not right. I don't think. We all know how I feel about Major League Baseball management right now. That is what it is. But, I think that's one of my biggest issues, is the inconsistency from the guy upstairs in baseball management. I also missed another super chat. I apologize. Jorge, imagine Acuna and Soto together and we'll be okay. Yeah, look, if we got Acuna and Soto together, that would be like, that would be crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. I just don't see a world. I just don't see a world where that happens. And I do think we'll be okay. I've been kind of harping on this all night long for sure. But, I definitely think there's too much time left in the season. But I got a weird question here. I got to answer this now before I forget because I don't know how many questions I'm going to be able to get through. Jordan Baldovi says, aloha, Tyler. Aloha, Jordan. Appreciate you tuning in, man. He says, congratulations on graduating college. Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be out of there. Glad to be part of the workforce for good now. And they keep asking me to come back and get my master's. I don't think so. I don't, at least not right now. I don't think so. I think I'm good. But you want to know, I'm not sure if someone asked you this already, but what do you think of the PitchCom technology? I'll be honest with you, Jordan. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know it exists. I know it's out there. I know they're using it. Is it still just? I think it's still just in the minors. Um, some teams are using it. Um, Here's the thing, right? I don't have a problem with it, and I'm gonna tell you why. With all of the talk about the Astros over the past few years and the stealing signs, if we can minimize the ability of stealing signs, I'm all right with it. I think we have to adapt. We have to modernize the game in some capacity. They want to move to an electronic strike zone. Don't know how behind that I am. I'm more behind that than I am some other things. But in terms of the pitch comp, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I prefer the signs underneath, but at the same time, if that's all they want to do to the game, then fine. That being said, I don't think we should really be that worried about it. But even then, the pitch com technology, it's technology. It's not something that's going to really diminish the game in any way. That's like when people got mad about the pitch clock. I wasn't that worried about the pitch clock. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a little stupid. But at the same time, I was like, all right. It wasn't something that I hate. I hate runner on second. I hate that. I hate everything about it. You can't convince me it's good. They talked last year about making the bases bigger. Whatever, fine. That's not going to impact the game at a level to where I'm going to notice, right? When you're at the stadium, you don't really notice the pitch clock that much. When you're watching the game, you don't notice the pitch clock. When you're, it's just not something that's taken over the game. Pitch comp, I don't think would take over the game. Electronic strike zone will be a major shift to the game. It's not one that I'm necessarily fully against, especially the more I see these umpire scorecards this year. But at the same time, it's also, I don't think an electronic strike zone is going to pick up on the little nuances of a game that an umpire is meant to pick up on, whether they do or not. That's something that I worry about, and it's also been done that way for 200 years. And to be honest with you, the signs, it has been done the same way for 200 years. And if you can't hide your signs, that's your fault. But at the same time, I just, I don't know. I think it is what it is. I think you have to take what the game gives you. You have to take it into consideration. I think that, baseball's got to adapt in some way because football has every camera angle. It has every stat. It has everything, clearly, on a screen. Easy to watch. That's why more fans have gravitated towards football in a lot of ways. And they have to do something at a level, on a TV level to figure that out. I think what MLB, and here's another soapbox, I think what MLB should do is forget all these stupid deals we got with the Yankees or whatever else where we have all these blackouts. You pay one fee, you get to watch every game for your team that year. I think that's what it should be. And if that's $162, then by God, do it, because I'm tired. I see every game Braves play. My parents have cable. That's great and all. But I am tired of hearing about these stupid blackouts. Fans that are a mile down the road from the stadium should be able to watch the game. I don't know why this is so hard. How is a fan supposed to be invested in a team if they can't keep up with the team day to day, right? You watch your football team every week, don't you? Right? You watch your hockey team every game. MLB shouldn't be any different. And if that means making an MLB network streaming service and having every game there, then do it. And if that means, whatever that means, just do it. Figure it out, because I'm tired of that conversation. I'm tired of, I'm tired of having that conversation. Jameis is tuning in. Good to hear from you, man. True Braves fans, remember, a lot of times we were going around the middle of the season and still going to the playoffs. Agreed. No problem, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Let me see. I'm going to try to get as many of these guys as I can, and I'm going to probably wrap it up, probably in the next 5 minutes. So if you got a question, get it in, and I'll try to get as many as I can. Courtney Conaway, do you think Harris or Waters will make an impact in Atlanta this year? We talked a little bit about Waters at the beginning of the show. Waters is looking good in the minors. Harris, if one is going to come up, it's going to be Waters, to tell you the truth, at least for right now. I think this year it's going to be Waters if one of those guys comes up, because Waters has been, to me, he's right there with Pache. He should have been up by now. If you're asking me, if you're asking my honest opinion, I definitely think they're grooming him. They want him to be ready to go when he gets here, but he should be before Harris. Harris, I think, is the better player, has the most hype around him, but he's also at a lower level. So unless Harris just jumps him some kind of way, I definitely think Waters is the guy that's coming up. But I don't know that Waters is necessarily blowing it away in AAA. He's got a good batting average, but the on base ain't there. He's only got 3 homers. He's having good. It's good, but it's not something that makes me go, okay, yep, you need to take Duvall's spot. You need to take so-and-so's spot. You need to even Demerit. It's like, I don't know that I want Demerit out of the lineup right now because Demerit's actually playing really well. So it's hard to know, but that's kind of where my head's at it. Appreciate the question, Courtney. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. With that, guys, we are going to wrap it up with that. Thank you, guys, for tuning in. I always do appreciate it. Remember, some other just housekeeping notes. Again, we will be interviewing Leo Mazzone tomorrow. This will be not dropping tomorrow, more than likely. Maybe, but I doubt it. Probably over the weekend at some point. This will be a long interview. This will be a long cut. We're going to be more like a podcast, but it will be, video form and that kind of thing. But it will be a long cut interview, and I'm really looking forward to it. Riding up to South Carolina tomorrow and getting this done for you guys, putting it out there over the weekend. Leo Mazzone, if you don't know, one of the best pitching minds ever, one of the best pitching coaches ever, raised up a young Smoltz and Glavine and later picked up a pretty good pitcher by the name of Greg Maddux and led up to a few Cy Youngs. So, I'm really looking forward to this, looking forward to some Bobby Cox stories, looking forward to some Big Three stories, and I think ultimately what I really want to do with Leo is talk about the game today. I want to talk to him about Spencer Strider. Is Spencer Strider a guy that he would have put in the starting rotation? Who's he most impressed with in the starting rotation? What young pitcher is he most impressed with? I know he's got some strong opinions about the game today as well, and you've heard a little bit of that, but I'm going to let him really dig into it, and it's something I'm really looking forward to. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you are here for that. It will be over the weekend. I will promote it. The other thing, literally got this text during the broadcast. I guess they saw that I was going live, so I guess they felt like they better get some free promotion out of me. BP Sports is doing a signing with Matt Olson on June 25th from 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. It will be at basically where Murph's is, next to the stadium in the Galleria Mall, a couple doors down from Murph's. It should be pretty fun. I mean, it's the only public signing appearance he's going to have this year, so if you don't get it now, you're going to have to wait till 2023. I'm going to put this on the community page, so if you need to come back to it, you don't have to watch a 2-hour video. You can just go to the community page. It will be there. Flats and baseballs are 105. Jerseys, equipment, basically, is going to be $135. Inscriptions up to 3 words, $39, and artwork and lithographs are TBD. So that is, what we got right there. So again, Matt Olson, June 25th, coming up soon. So make sure you are there, and I'll try to keep you updated with all the autograph signings I can if I see them. If you know of an autograph signing, if you want to promote an Atlanta Braves autograph signing, let me know. All you got to do, comment on one of the posts on the community page. I'll get with you. I'll get you my email. We'll figure it out, and I'll try to promote it best I can. And, of course, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and of course, stay tuned right here at On Deck. Of course, the Leo Mazzone video over the weekend, and of course, more content here as the season goes on. Hopefully, the Braves will give me something good to talk about, and we can do that as time goes on. I got one more question here that I'm going to answer because it's a regular viewer, and I'm nice like that. Oren Griswold, good to hear from you. He says, I know you're tired of talking about Freddie, but I hope the Braves plan to have some sort of ceremony for him when LA comes to town and maybe give him his ring. I'm sure they're going to do something nice. I know Freddie wanted to do it in front of the crowd in Atlanta. And look, here's the thing, guys. The only reason I'm tired of talking about Freddie is because it's so divisive. It's so, I get nasty comments about, why are you still talking about Freddie? He's gone. Let's just give him a good send-off, please. Can we just keep it classy, Atlanta? Can we just do that? Please, Jesus, I'm begging you. I think that's, the right thing to do. All right, but that's going to wrap it up here, guys. Again, Leo, over the weekend, autograph signing, June 25th, Matt Olson. Make sure you check out the community page. If you have a question for Leo and you still want me to answer it, go to the Super Thanks category on any video I've done. Ask a question there. It's basically a super chat. It's just on a regular video. Go comment there. I'll try to get it in if I see it. If you really want me to answer it, my email is somewhere on the page. You can find it. But yeah, get it to me. I'll be glad to ask anything you guys want answered, and for sure. So with that said, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later right here at On Deck.